So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and segue into our final segment of the evening, and that is none other than the Advice Corner. Now, before we jump into this week's Advice Corner, I want to give a huge shout out. Thank you guys so much. Hikari, the Advice Corner emails have been coming in, bruh. Dude, since our brief hiatus in March, get this, all right? Hang on. I'm up. Dude, you gonna want to put a helmet on because I'm about to blow your mind. Dude, we got 4 Advice Corners already waiting for us. 4 of them.
All right, let's do the damn thing then. Let's do it.
All right, so first off, I do gotta apologize though, because the last time we did an Advice Corner, dude, I missed one. This one was actually submitted before the last one we did, and I'm so sorry that I'm late on this one. I totally messed it up. I missed it, but I'm straight now. I got it. I got all the ones. You know, they're dated. They're in the right order, so you know we're gonna be tackling them. But this one comes from Zachariah. Like that, old school, biblical, yeah. And he titles this email "My Future in College." So we got another academic Advice Corner. All right, now it is a bit of a long one, so sit tight. I'm gonna try to go through it as quickly as I can. All right, so hello, I'm not asking for advice on how to get better with calculus, but I am asking for some career advice as well as some academic advice. Stay with me here, which he actually puts that in parentheses. It's kind of awesome. All right. So he says, I'm currently a sophomore attending a university. I'm studying computer science and have a 3.4 GPA. Right on. I am an above average student, but unfortunately, mental health circumstances and ex-girlfriend issues brought my a 3.8. I'm sorry. So you had a 3.8 to a 3.4. Okay.
Oh, my. All right. Okay.
All right. Now, 0.4. Okay, but not too bad. Anyway, I'm currently having a hard time getting through my calculus class. The professor uses a modern learning style called inquiry-based learning. Inquiry-based learning is pretty much when the professor gives you a worksheet, has you and your group look over the packet without any previous knowledge as to how to solve the problem or any experience with the study of calculus in general, and makes you figure it out for yourselves, even though, as I stated, no one in the class has any previous knowledge of how to approach the problems he assigns. A good amount of students have tried to call him out and have asked him, some have even begged him to start doing traditional lecture-based teaching so that the class can better understand the subject, but he literally refuses to do so. My job is to give you the packet and make you learn for yourself, not to stand in front of the class and give you the answers. That's a quote. He always replies, I've talked to tutors. Okay, yeah, he always replies. Okay, I've talked to tutors, my parents, other students, and other math major, and they all agree that forcing people who are practically ignorant to the subject to learn by themselves while they are paying in order to be taught is counterproductive. We're not asking for the answer. We're asking for guidance as to how to go about achieving the answer. Wow. So let's go ahead and let's tackle this sucker question by question, because he adds 3 main questions at the end of this. So the first question is, has there been a time where you've had a professor / coworker who was assigned to teach you something yet refused to do so?
I don't think I've ever encountered something like that before. I have encountered, of course, very difficult subject matters. And that's just a situation where it's basically an accumulation over several weeks. So basically you start off completely ignorant. The second week, you're still pretty much ignorant. The third week, you're ignorant. But by the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th weeks, you gain some knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So I have had that happen before where, so I've taken graduate courses as an undergraduate where that happened to me once, where I tried to get into a course and they made a mistake and registered me for a graduate course. And I was just like, well, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to take this course because, you know, it's whatever. So I got stuck in a graduate course, and I did wind up getting an A in that course, but it was pretty difficult. And and here's the thing about professors. Inside their classrooms, they're basically like dictators.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they get to do what they want to do. They get to teach how they want to teach. And I've had professors who've used discussion-based techniques. So like, you have a reading assignment, you come into the class, you discuss it, you have a conversation. I've had professors who just, you know, wrote out 30-page papers and just read them. And there was no discussion in the class. So I have to say, I've never quite encountered something like this, though, inquiry-based learning, where you're completely ignorant of a subject matter and somebody just gives you some problems and then you have to do the problems. I've never encountered that before, though.
Yeah, that's a bit crazy, and I would even say as far as a bit extreme. Here's the other thing too, though. Well, actually, hang on. Before I say that, let me make sure that this isn't a question. Well, hang on. Okay, hang on. Before I answer, let me go ahead and just give you the second question. It says, if so, so it's an if so. So if you have experienced that to some degree before, it says, if so, how did you handle it? Do it yourself, go to other resources around you for help, go to that person's boss to complain. Okay, so but before we get on what actions to actually be taken in terms of addressing that one issue, let's go ahead and let's discuss the main problem at hand, and that is the fact that you got to pass calculus. So yeah, get a tutor. Get a tutor. Someone who's
I would say get a different professor.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Switch. Well,
I mean, that's what I would do. I would drop the course and then take it next semester with a different professor.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a more immediate thing. And like I said, I feel so bad because this email's from like mid-February. I mean, by now, you know, it's towards the end of the semester. School's almost over. But yeah, I mean, that is the one thing you definitely can do is just, you know, drop that course and, you know, take another professor. But I will say this, just in terms of like, if you were going to stick it out and if you're going to stay in that class, get a tutor. I think he mentioned like he tried going to a tutor before. I've talked to tutors, other people, all agreed, forcing people. Okay, so yeah, so he says he's gone to tutors and they've agreed that, yeah, no, it's wrong for that professor to go ahead and expect that of his students if he's not teaching the material. So yeah, so in terms of just passing that class, yeah, go get a tutor, switch professors, or hey, once again, you have one of the best resources at your fingertips. Go online and look for the answers. You know, there are plenty of websites that you can learn that teach you calculus like you're a dummy. That teach you, you know, calculus for dummies. Pretty much, there's plenty of websites that teach you how to do calculus if you have no clue whatsoever how to do it. Now, yeah, it might take a lot of time, but I mean, you can get the resources to do it on your own if that is your choice. Now, in terms of have I ever experienced that myself? Not really. Not really. I've never had a teacher that was that difficult.
I've never heard of something like that.
Yeah. I've never had one that was that difficult. I guess I'm fortunate enough that most of my now here's the thing though. Here's the thing. I have had professors who very much so are like either you get it or you don't, and either you catch up or you just fall behind. So if you remember from our discussion of the week, discussion where I was talking about those two classes that I failed my first semester of my junior year, One of those classes was algebra 2, the second algebra you take in high school, and that teacher was like that. She didn't offer any extra help. It was like, you are in class to learn the material, and this is when I'm teaching it. So either you get it while you're in class or you're on your own. So yeah, but she never was like, I'm not going to teach it to you at all. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I've had professors that are like, you know, because I don't know why it is, why they, well, okay, I'm gonna tell you this right now. That first teacher that I had in high school, that first algebra 2 teacher I had, straight up B dash 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 H, straight up, just straight up. She was just a terrible teacher. She was a petty, spiteful, I think very embittered human being. She was very cynical about her job. She just did it. She was just, you could tell that she was a teacher because she had to keep a roof over her head.
Right.
She had to make a living, and that was the only reason why she was doing it. Yeah, she was a terrible, terrible teacher. And you know what? Thank God, you know, I was fortunate enough that my second algebra 2 teacher actually took a lot of pity on me. But she realized that, you know, no, Larry's not stupid, because here's the thing, math was always my hardest always my hardest subject. That was a subject I always struggled with in school. And algebra 2, man, it's like I worked so hard at that class, and I had a teacher, lucky enough, she was like, you know what? You do know this material. You just don't do well with timed tests. So she would actually let me stay behind class to finish my test. And guess what? I was dropping straight A's. When I had the time to work the problem out at my own pace, I was making straight A's. But if I had stayed with that other teacher, you know, oh, you didn't finish your test in time. Okay, you're done. Failed. But yeah, I never had anybody just straight up like no. That being said, though, let's just go ahead and segue straight into that second question. I mean, we did tackle it to some degree, but there's another solution that I do want to bring up. Here's the thing, dude. You're in college. Last I checked, all professors at a university, especially if it's a 4-year, they have to get advised by their students. And if they have bad, if they're getting bad reviews by students semester after semester after semester, guess what? They lose their job. They lose their job.
You can't do that. I mean, the first thing you learn when you go to college is you're an adult now, right?
Right.
And part of being an adult is that you have to make difficult decisions, and you have to accept the consequences of those decisions. Now, if it was me, I would drop the course. I just wouldn't take the course. I mean, I mean, look, I don't have time to deal with people I don't want to deal with. That's one of the valuable lessons you learn in life as you get older. Like, you just realize that you don't have time to deal with jackasses or assholes or people who want to be difficult. And if that requires you to make difficult decisions, then you have to make those difficult decisions. And what I would do is, even if I failed the course, like, I would just drop the course, take the F, then take it next semester with a different professor, and then just replace that grade.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much how you operate, how you navigate within academia. It wouldn't be an F though if you dropped it though. It'd be a D.
Well, it depends.
I mean, not a D. I'm sorry. It'd be a withdrawn.
Right. But it also depends. Like, sometimes they have like deadlines. If you drop a class after the deadline, then you fail. So it depends. But I mean, look, if you're going to be a computer engineer, and I think if you want to be a computer engineer, you need some sort of math courses. And if calculus is one of them, like, right, like if calculus is one of those courses, then the biggest concern isn't even the grade, it's learning the actual material, right? Like, if you want to be a computer engineer And if calculus is a prerequisite to being a computer engineer, like you actually have to know calculus. Like it's not even a question of like, can you pass the course at that point? It's a question of like, can you actually learn the material? And
Yep.
if the professor is such that you can't learn the material, then you're gonna have to not take that professor. That's really your only major recourse at that point. Because it's again, the question isn't can you pass the course. The question is, do you know the material?
Yep, that's
Those
true.
and those are not the same thing.
That is true. All right, so let me see. All right. Oh, snap. You know what? That third question hints on what you just said. Question 3. As stated previously, I'm an above average student. When I was in freshman and sophomore year, I was a terrible student until explicit hit the fan, and I finally realized how education could contribute to a happy life. 4, 5, 6 years from now, I've changed everything about myself, my diet, my study habits, everything. I'm the type of person who looks forward to a challenge, yet I'm struggling because I have no idea what lies ahead, considering I've heard similar things about other math teachers in the math department. I want to stick with my major because I find it to be interesting and it challenges me, but the math department's incompetent employees may bring down my GPA. If you were in my shoes, how would you go about deciding what to do moving forward in your college career?
I
That's a
don't know,
tough one,
man.
man.
You know, like I mean, look, if you're working with people you think are incompetent, like look, you're paying for this, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you're paying for this, then that means you have some sort of financial responsibility uh to consider. And first and foremost, that financial responsibility is to yourself. In other words, to get what you pay for. And if you think that people are so incompetent that you can't get what you paid for, then you might have to start looking at some more drastic measures, like maybe not going to that university. Uh, I don't know. I've never come across a situation like this. I mean, I've never worked with incompetent people before. Um, Everybody I worked with in college was competent, and if they were incompetent, I mean, I did. I mean, I can't even say I've worked with somebody who was incompetent. I may have worked with somebody whose intelligence I might not have respected. I may not have held them in high regard or high esteem. But and again, you have to make that distinction between the courses you can pass and the courses you can learn from. Like some courses you just have to take to get the A. Like you might not learn anything, but you got to take it to get the A or to get the B or whatever, to take it to get past it. And another thing is you have to learn how to network. Like you just seem like the type of person you don't know how to really network. Like you seem to be a good student. Like maybe you study well, maybe you have great time management skills, maybe you're really intelligent, but working at a university is about networking. And one of the things I learned was you have to ingratiate yourself to people who are competent and who like you and who are willing to, go the extra mile for you. Like I had multiple advisors when I was at college, like people I could just come to, talk to during office hours, email them. I had lunch with some of my professors, stay after class to talk with them. You just got to find people like that and learn how to network. I mean, it can't be the case that at this university there are no competent instructors in your department. Like that just can't be the case. And also, another thing is like the more in depth you get in a major, the more specialized your field becomes. So you have to find the people who are in the areas of specialization that you want to go into, because math is just general. But within math, there are concentrations. So you got to find the people who do the things that you're really interested in.
Here's another thing too. I'd be curious as to how many people, how many students who successfully passed that professor has Zach been in contact with? Because here's the thing, success leaves a trail. You want to pass that class, then you need to be hanging out with people who has
right, yeah, getting A's, yeah.
People who have passed that class with that professor, and you need to figure out how they did it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about that too.
And also, I mean, and I know it also depends on the university too, because every university has its courses that are, I won't say they're designed for you to fail, but they're designed for it to be like really, really hard.
Weed out courses. Like, that's what they're
right. Yeah. Like there was this course at Rutgers University called XPOS 101. And in that course, like I think 60% of people who take the course the first time fail.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's designed to be very, very difficult. It's designed to be hard. And maybe this course is like that. Because I know there was some like pre-med courses at Rutgers too, where people were like happy to get C's on their tests. And you just had to be happy getting a C, and that had to be okay.
Dude, I remember like, I think, yeah, my third semester in school, my sophomore year, was the first time I ran across weed out courses. And I knew they were weed out courses because both of these courses were mandatory. And guess what? Only one professor, meaning you have to take that, you have to pass that course with that professor in order to move on. And I took both of them in the same semester right after each other, which was stupid because they were studio courses, 2 hours and 45 minutes a piece. And I had a 15-minute window in between both of those, dude. That was probably the hardest year of school I ever did. Even harder than my freshman year when I took 18 credit hours each semester. But dude, the first one was figure drawing. And that one very much, it was crazy, because this is what would literally happen. This is what happened. Every week we would get together and we would figure draw. Sometimes we would have skeletons, sometimes mannequins, sometimes we would draw each other, sometimes we would have live models. And then, and so we would do this, and then midterm happens, and you have to do a midterm portfolio submission, right? Guess what? The teacher graded everybody harshly off of their midterm. And guess what? Like 80% of the people dropped out. They dropped the class. And then lo and behold, I found out by the time I got to the class, most of the people would have actually ended up passing if they would have just stayed in the class.
Right. And another thing too is, like, this is calculus, right? If you want to go into math, you do realize that there's more than one calculus, right? This first calculus, is the second calculus, third calculus. Like, there's more than one calculus. And these are abstract mathematical principles, and it's really, really difficult. Maybe you're not supposed to get that 3.8 in this course. Maybe that's not what it's gonna be, and you might have to be okay with that. Or there was a person at Rutgers who did this, who took calculus, failed, then took calculus, got a C, then took it again, got a B, then took it, like, you just take it over and over and over again until you master the material. You might have to do it that way.
Right. And the thing is, there is such a thing as adjusted GPA. So which whatever the highest grade is that you take, you can replace it. I mean, dude, like that actually saved my GPA. But like, briefly, I'm going to go ahead and touch back on, you know, that the second weed out course that I took, dude, which was sculpture. Dude, I took this 3 times. 3. I failed it the first time, dropped it the second time. And I ain't gonna lie to you, dude. It wasn't until we got a new sculpture professor that I ended up taking it and passing it that third time. I had a new professor when I took sculpture the third time, and I ended up passing. But guess what? Here's the thing, though, for anybody who think I copped out on that one. My senior year, in the fine arts department, you have to select 3 professors to be on your committee, and this committee is responsible for pretty much criticizing, critiquing, and grading your work. Pretty much, they are the judge, jury, and executioner in terms of you preparing your final body of work. One person is whoever your concentration head is. So regardless of whatever your concentration is, that person is immediately on your committee. The other 2 are your choice. Guess who the first person I picked on my committee?
What, the sculpture professor?
The sculpture professor I failed twice. The sculpture professor I failed twice was the first person I put on my committee. Yep.
Yeah. That's a part of networking. That's a part of ingratiating yourself to the people who are, you know, ultimately responsible for your academic success.
Dude, matter of fact, by the time I had picked my committee, dude, I remember when because you have to fill out a form. Like you pretty much have to make this. It's kind of like your declaration for graduation or whatever. But there's a form you have to fill out at the start of your senior year. Not your senior year, but when you enter senior workshop. Senior workshop 1, you have to fill out a form, and that's when you select your committee. And when you get into senior workshop 2, I'm sorry, senior workshop 2 is when you select your committee. And I remember I handed my form to the secretary, and she did this. She went, "Are you sure?" Because I had picked the 2 professors that were my choice were 2 of the hardest professors in my entire department. I'm like, "Yep, give them both to me." And I ended up passing with flying colors. So yeah, like I'm bringing that up because to point out a couple of things. Number one, harboring back to what Hugo said. To what what Hikari said about networking. Okay. And you know what, that can't I can't specify that enough. Right now, it sounds like, Zach, you need to be in contact with the right people. So like we said, other professors, other tutors, former students, how about some former graduates? How about you want to be in engineering, computer engineering? How about some computer engineering grads, some alumni? And then, he mentioned that, he went ahead and reported the professor. What's your relationship with that department head? Like,
yep, that's true too.
Networking is very important. It's very important. I did that a lot too.
I just went around the department, took all the different professors, and I made it a point to be like, not necessarily a standout, but they know who I am. Like, oh, that's Alzamar. Oh, you took this professor. This professor mentioned you. They said you were interested in this and this. Like, yeah, I'm interested in that. What are you doing? What are some of your books? Can I read some of your material? Like, I just went around and just like
here's the other thing too. I didn't mean to cut you off, your car.
No, I was just gonna say I just went around and made sure I was known to just about like everybody in the department, and also people with seniority too, like.
Right, and dude, and here's one more thing I want to throw out there because I'm just interested in how this would play out. What if you actually tried playing ball with this professor? And what I mean is this, because I get the sense that based upon the email, that it's just constant resistant. Like, no, I don't learn like that. You aren't doing your job. I have a problem with this. You need to change the way you're doing things. And maybe that's true. But what happened, what had happened, or what would happen if you're like, okay, how do I learn this material his way? Like, what happened if you actually play ball with him? And how about this? Instead of immediately putting yourself in opposition with that professor, what if you went in that professor like, yo, I want to learn this material the way you're teaching it. How do I do that? Have you gone to the professor and be like, how do I learn? How do I learn from you? I want to learn from you. How do I do that?
Right.
Because here's the thing. Teachers are a lot more willing to help you if you, I mean, some teachers, yeah, you have to kiss their ass. Let's be real about that. Some, you do have to stroke their egos. But, you know, that being said, I harbor back to something that my dad told me in high school, and I'll never forget it, where he says, son, never argue with a teacher. Why? Because they have knowledge that you need. Never give them an excuse to withhold that knowledge from you. So with that same token, sometimes you have to put yourself in a position to be on the receiving end of that knowledge, even if they're not willing to, even if they're not trying to give it to you willingly. Sometimes you have to put yourself in a position to get it anyhow. And one of the best ways to do that is to get in good with that professor.
And also another thing I would say is like, there's a difference between learning material and mastering material, right? And one of the things I learned was that a lot of your success and a lot of your excellence inside of the academic setting is dependent on the work that you do outside that setting. And that doesn't mean studying for courses. That doesn't mean, you know, grid time management skills. That doesn't mean doing your homework. It doesn't even mean showing up to class. It just means that you have an interest in the material that allows you to pursue that interest even outside of the academic setting. So like for me, like I was reading books that had nothing to do with the classes I were in per se, but they were closely related to my subject matter. Mm-hmm. And so I came to class with a whole lot of background knowledge that not everybody else in the class had, simply because I did that work on my own. So if you want to be, you know, if you want to do stuff like computer engineering, or you want to do calculus, like just go to the bookstore and buy books on calculus and read those.
Yep. Dude, that reminds me of a statement that Earl Nightingale said, where he said, if you, what was it? It was like, if you spent 1 hour of additional study in any field, you would become an expert in said field within 5 years. If you spend 1 extra hour a day studying a specific field,
right,
a specific endeavor, within 5 years, you will be one of like the top 25 experts, or top 25% experts in that field.
Because knowledge in that sense is cumulative. Like it's just a tipping point.
Right.
Exactly. This is exactly what I'm doing right now. So like, for example, like my area of study was literature of the African diaspora. So it was a combination of like women's and gender studies, but also philosophy, also some economic capitalism, and the way that the transformation from proprietary to corporate capitalism influenced culture and ideas and literature. But so I wanted to study literature of the African diaspora. but one thing that I'm also interested in is the formation of race and the formation of racial identity. And I can't get that from studying literature. I have to get that from studying history. So what did I do? I said, well, look, I should start studying the history of race and racism. I want to get my PhD in literature, of course, but I need that background information in order to understand the historical formation of race and racial identity and its link to literature of the African diaspora. So I now have my foot in two different fields. One is in history, but one is also in literature. And so you have to come to your material, your coursework, or your area of specialization with background knowledge in other fields. That's what you need.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So yeah, going ahead and wrapping this up, any final thoughts on this advice corner?
I think I said everything that needs to be said. I mean, look, you got some tough decisions to make. You either keep the course and keep, trugging along the way you're doing now, or you drop the course and retake it. I don't think it gets much easier than that. That's a pretty simple decision.
Yeah, and I would also say, even if, by the time you're seeing this video, like maybe, if you haven't dropped the course by now, hopefully you're doing well in the class. And if you're not, dude, there's no shame.
That's okay too.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, even like, okay, here's shit. And I really could do a separate video about this too, but it's like, dude, like too often, graduating in 4 years, graduating with a certain GPA, like that is overrated in a lot of cases. That's overrated. But the thing is, it's like your GPA is high enough to where you can actually afford to take a hit, especially if you're retaking the class and if you use your adjusted GPA and you do better next time. The other thing I would highly recommend is like, okay, you can drop the course, or you can just go ahead, take the lick, in either case, retake it with another teacher. But here's the other thing too, even if you don't drop that course, and even if you decide, yeah, you're going to take that lick, or even if you're trying and you're failing at it, go to every class, keep going to that class,
right?
Keep yourself around and engage in that material. Why? That way, when you retake it that second time, you're not starting from scratch. All right. You already know what it is you're getting yourself into. So you have some frame of reference to where you can start out. You will already be ahead of everybody else in that class when you take it that second time, because you've already been there before, which is another reason why I highly encourage you, get in contact with people who have already successfully passed that class. All right. Because they have the information you need in order to get you there as well.
And I just want to emphasize this too. Like, again, there's a difference between passing a class and mastering the material. And it seems like what you want to do is master the material. You don't just want to pass the class. And sometimes mastering the material requires you to do more than what's required to pass the class.
Well, it does. By its very nature, it demands it. Dude, I've been studying art since I was 8 years old. So I've been doing art for 20 years. I ain't a master at it. Not even close.
Yeah.
I'm still not a master at it. And yeah, here's the other thing too. If you want to master that material, don't arrest yourself with that expectation in one semester. You got time to do that.
That's true too.
That will, matter of fact, that will actually come the more classes you take, is when that will come. And hell, it might not even come until you're actually doing this professionally in your field. It might not come until then.
Right.
So don't let yourself be arrested with that expectation, because then if you do that, you're putting way too much pressure on yourself to the point that every shortcoming, you'll just bury yourself in it. And you don't want to do that. You want to remain practical. Right now, your main
I'm just about to say that. Yeah. It's also a question of practicality too, because computer engineering isn't just something like theoretical. That has practical applications. And like what you're going to be doing in computer engineering when you become a professional in your field is not the same thing as what you're going to be doing inside an academic setting.
No, it's not. It's not. And some of the stuff that's even required for you to learn in order to get your degree, you don't even need in whatever job it is you're actually doing. Right now, your main concern is passing the class. All right. And the manner in which you pass that is going to determine a lot of things, because I'm pretty sure you got to take another calc after this. All right. So depending on how well. Yeah, so it's like depending on how well you do in this class, like even if you pass by the skin of your teeth, that's gonna set something up for that next class you gotta take. You know what I mean? So that's why, once again, like we've been saying, make sure that you get connected with the right people. Make sure that you are making the most out of the resources at your disposal. And if you don't have those resources, make sure that you find a way to get those resources, because this fight is not, if this is Calc 1 that you're having trouble with, your fight ain't done. It ain't over yet.
Yeah. You just getting started.
You are just getting started. So the best thing you can do, condition yourself with this material now. Condition it now. All right, so that's going to go ahead and that's going to wrap up our advice corner. Once again, I want to thank everybody for joining us live, all 63 of you all who are tuning in right now, and I want to thank everybody for watching. If you're watching after the fact, once again, if you have any type of issue that you need advice on, anything within reason that you think we could help you out with, please feel free to shoot those to me in a personal email at otakuassemble@gmail.com. And please, if you can, because I got another email where it was like, it didn't even say if it was an advice corner or a discussion of the week. Yeah, please feel free, put that in the title of the email. Let me know what it is. You know, it's, this is an advice corner. And please, by all means, go ahead and title it. Because I'm gonna be using, because I think Zach came up with a pretty good title for this one. I'm gonna use his suggestion. Okay, so yeah, so once again, if you got an issue you need help with and you need advice, shoot that to us at otakuassemble@gmail.com.